So I'm really excited. I thank you all for coming. Before we begin, I would like to define mindfulness, really set a definition. And as you'll see, there's a number of different definitions because, well, people have their own way of interpreting it. I will give you a few definitions so that you get a sense for yourself of what mindfulness is. And then we'll go into kind of the various ways that one can practice it, and then do a practice ourselves and answer any questions that you may have. One of the definitions that you'll find is one by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who really helped bring mindfulness to the Western world. And he started the mindfulness-based stress reduction program at the University of Massachusetts. And he helped bring mindfulness into the medical setting to hospital patients. And actually, some of the first patients that he tested mindfulness on were actually patients who were hospitalized or had chronic pain. And so mindfulness is very appropriate for chronic pain. We'll get into that in the weeks to come. His first sort of defining mindfulness was that it essentially has four parts to it. The first part is that you have to pay attention. All right. So that's number one. You've got to be able to pay attention. The next part is that you're paying attention on purpose. So you're paying attention on purpose. Essentially what that means is that there is some conscious effort to what you are paying attention to, at least initially, right? That we know that we're paying attention to something on purpose, that when our mind, let's say, wanders, or we might be, quote unquote, lost in thought, but oftentimes we notice those thoughts coming in and they grab our attention, and then our attention wanders. And we might even shake our heads and go, wow, where was I, right? Wow, I was lost in thought. We're not choosing to pay attention on purpose to being lost in thought. What happens frequently is that thoughts may arise, they grab our attention, and they pull us over. Almost like you're driving down the freeway and you see an ad for something that you've always wanted, and you're driving and you look and you go, oh, wow, look at that ad, right? The ad grabbed your attention, pulled your attention away from driving and distracted you. Even if it's for a second or 2 seconds, that ad grabbed your attention. It pulled you away from what you were doing, which was, let's say, driving down the street. And sometimes it might happen that the car in front of you brakes and you go, oh, you know, we hope that we don't get into an accident because our attention was focusing on something else rather than what we were doing in that moment. So paying attention on purpose to what? To the present moment, right? And this is where the fun part begins, in my opinion, and where sort of the exploration comes, because the present moment is the present moment. So if you, I might bring some cartoons of mindfulness, but there's always a question. Well, which moment am I paying attention to? Well, this moment. And which moment? This moment. And which moment is that? Well, this moment right here. Which moment? This moment. Okay. So you're paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment, non-judgmentally. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. And all these are a process, right? Especially the non-judgmental part. The first thing that you might notice that you do when you sit down for a practice of mindfulness is that you're judging yourself. Oh, I'm not doing this right. I don't know how to do it. I don't know. And so just to recognize that that the non-judgmental aspect of the mindfulness practice is really a process. It's a process that will continue with you throughout your practice. Okay. Um, so if you kind of keep in mind those four uh, factors of mindfulness: paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. So with anything that you can possibly be doing, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention on purpose? Are you paying attention to what is occurring in the present moment? And is there a quality of non-judgmental nature to that? Meaning, okay, well, this is how it's appearing right now. I don't have to correct it. This is because it is right here, right now. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. Another definition that I like comes from the UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center. They have a lot of recorded mindfulness meditations on their website from UCLA. They say paying attention, so there's that quality of paying attention to the present moment experience, again, present moment, right? Experience with openness and curiosity. I love that part about the openness and curiosity, right? Be open and curious to what your present moment experience is. Be curious as if you were a child who had never had this experience before, who didn't judge it as good or bad and is trying to figure out maybe, what is this experience about? What is happening in the moment at this time? So paying attention to the present moment experience with openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is. And a willingness to be with what is. That's the non-judgmental part, right? That's there's no right or wrong. Is there a willingness to be with what is? Are you resisting the present moment? Which is a really good question to ask. Wow, what am I resisting in this moment? What am I resisting in this moment? So let me just read that again because I really like that. Paying attention to the present moment experience with openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is. A shortened version of that is essentially paying attention to moment experience. Paying attention. So you are paying attention, right? To moment experience. What is your experience in this moment right now, totally authentic to you, without needing to change anything about it, if you can, with an openness and a curiosity. Like you're just sitting back and watching what comes. Thich Nhat Hanh, who, in my opinion, wrote one of the best books on mindfulness that I have on my desk. It's called The Miracle of Mindfulness. This is one of the first books that I came across in terms of learning about mindfulness. He says, mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and alive, body and mind united. Mindfulness is the energy that helps us to know what is going on in the present moment. I drink water, and I know that I am drinking the water. Drinking the water is what is happening. Mindfulness brings concentration. When we drink water mindfully, we concentrate on drinking. If we are concentrated, life is deep. We have more joy and stability. We can drive mindfully. We can cut carrots mindfully. We can shower mindfully. When we do things this way, concentration grows. When concentration grows, we gain insight into our lives. So he's already talking about some of the fruits of mindfulness, okay, which I haven't gotten to yet. But as you can see in his abundant practice, knowledge, and wisdom, essentially what he states is, mindfulness brings concentration. When we have this concentrated ability, this ability to concentrate and focus, life is deep. In that, there is more joy and stability. When we do things in this way, concentration grows. When concentration grows, we gain insight into our lives. All right, really beautiful. The Greater Good Science Center says mindfulness means maintaining a moment-to-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, body sensations, and surrounding environment. All right, a moment-to-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, body sensations, and surrounding environment. And that's one of the reasons why in this introductory class, we'll actually break down those individual aspects of it, of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and bodily sensations. Mindfulness also involves acceptance. All right, acceptance is part of that, a willingness to be with what is. It's also a part of the non-judgmental, right? There's a certain acceptance of the present moment. Mindfulness also involves acceptance, meaning that we pay attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them, without believing, for instance, that there's a right or wrong way to think or feel in a given moment. When we practice mindfulness, our thoughts tune into what we're sensing in the present moment rather than rehashing the past or imagining the future. So it's literally what is happening to you? What is your experience in this moment? What is arising for you in this moment? And can you be with it with an openness and curiosity, a willingness to be with what is, non-judgmental? You see how, irrespective of where we take these definitions, that there is a lot of overlap, right? And to see, okay, is there a definition that works for you? Is there one that you resonate with? Which are the overlapping factors that you feel like you can do easier than others? Okay, maybe it's the paying attention on purpose, and the present moment is a little foggy, or the non-judgmental is a little foggy. That's perfectly okay. Okay, as long as we start the practice and we continue with the practice, and it's like a cultivation. It's like we're starting to plant a seed, and it's not like the next day we look at that seed and we say, shoot, it hasn't become a flower yet. That means the seed is dead. Well, inside the seed, it's like it has the soil, right? We put it in the right soil, we water it, and maybe the seed hasn't changed anything, but it started absorbing the water from the soil, right? And it becomes plump, but we can't see what's happening on the inside. This is sort of the same as some of maybe the benefits that mindfulness might bring, but we won't get into those. It's really about cultivating a practice. And when we talk about a practice, especially in mindfulness, many people say, well, how is it different than meditation? Well, it is a form of meditation. Many people think of mindfulness as a form of meditation. When I think of meditation, I usually think of, taking time out of your busy schedule, sort of making it where you set apart 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it might be. Okay. And there's nothing else that you do except for you're doing your practice. Maybe you're doing you're sitting on a pillow, or you're sitting on a couch, or you're sitting on a comfortable chair, or you might be lying down, or you're lying in bed, or you're going for a walk, but your walk is actually a walking meditation, whatever it might be. We're not checking our cell phones. We're not sending text messages. We're not answering the phone. We're not watching television or anything like that. It's really sort of sacred time that we've taken out of the day to do our practice. That would be considered a formal practice. And I do recommend having a formal practice of some sort, trying to find a time in your life where you can set aside just 5 minutes. And there's some research to suggest that 5 minutes is an adequate amount of time. Of course, the more, the better, but just 5 minutes. And I always say there's 280 5-minute intervals in your 24-hour day. Take one of those 5-minute intervals and try to find a formal practice that works for you. Okay, this can be right before you wake up, or right when you wake up and you're still lying in bed. You take those 5 minutes, instead of popping out of bed, you do a practice. This could be after you have breakfast. during lunch, before you go to bed, anything. Okay. This might be difficult to find. It took me 15 years to find a time for me to do a formal practice, especially if you have a life that is constantly changing and duties and days that are different. It might be difficult to actually find a time to do a practice, and that's perfectly okay. Just set the intention, right? Look, I'd love to set the intention of doing a formal practice. Sharon Salzberg, who has written a number of books and has really brought loving kindness meditation to the Western world, said that some days when she couldn't practice, she just looked at her meditation pillow. And just knowing that the pillow was there was enough to give her a sense of her practice. All right. So she had intentionalized the space, which I thought was quite beautiful, and speaks to that loving kindness, that compassion, that self-compassion that she cultivates in her practices. So that's what we would consider more of a formal practice. Okay. Then there's the informal practice. And the informal practice is a practice that you essentially start to do throughout your day. And if you think about the definition of mindfulness being paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment, you can see how, well, here you are sitting right now. Are you mindful? Are you mindfully sitting? Are you listening mindfully? Are you mindfully paying attention to any sensations that arise in your body? When you drink a glass of water, are you paying attention to drinking the glass of water, or are you paying attention to what you're going to do next, right? Which is not the present moment. And so essentially, my informal practice is helping us cultivate the practice of mindfulness throughout our day without having to practice formally the entire day. But we can put little reminders, for instance, on our refrigerator door. Pause, take a breath, be present, and now proceed. All right. You can put a reminder on your phone. It can ding every hour. Every time you open a door or grab the door handle. Every time you get into your car. Every time you notice that your phone rings, or you have a text message that you're checking. All right. There's sort of reminders that we can put into our life. Every time we stop at a red light, well, what do? We ask ourselves, where is our attention? We bring our attention back to the present moment. Maybe we take a deep breath. As the red light turns green, we then proceed. The University of Wisconsin has the 3 Ps that they teach their family medicine residency program, which I thought was quite good in terms of cultivating informal mindfulness practice. And the 3 Ps stand for pause, present, and proceed. Pause, present, and proceed. And they actually taught their residents that every time that they walked into a room to see a patient, or walked out of the room when the patient encounter was completed, that they would grab the door handle. As they were grabbing the door handle to walk into the room, they would pause. They would practice the 3 Ps. Pause, present, proceed. Many of the residents in the present just brought their attention back to the present moment. Maybe they took a breath, and then they proceeded into the room. Right? How great would it feel if every encounter you had with a healthcare provider, they practiced the 3 Ps before actually, looking at your chart or your radiology or, the lab values or anything like that. Maybe that would actually shift the encounter with your healthcare provider quite a bit. So anyways, I do encourage you to not only have a formal practice of 5 minutes a day, but also to see if you can incorporate informal practice into your day. I use the 3 Ps, at least the pausing part, because as soon as I bring in the pause to any moment, there's presence that emerges. Oftentimes things are just sort of rolling along, right? And I'm not really present of the present moment. And so anytime that we pause, just like right now, take a pause. Come back to the present moment and then proceed. Can be very powerful, and all you need is a few seconds. All right. The next part of mindfulness practice that can really, really help is the concept of an anchor. The anchor is something that we can use to help focus and concentrate the mind. All right. Just like you would take an anchor from a boat that was in the water and you throw it overboard and it goes to the bottom of the sea and it sits there. And then the boat, it might be, bouncing around with the waves, but it doesn't float down, right? It doesn't go down, get lost at sea. It stays, right? And that's the same analogy that we use in mindfulness. Prior to our practice, we choose something that can be our anchor. We choose something that we can focus our mind on. It can be something neutral. It could be something that maybe it induces a sense of joy or happiness. It does not really matter what the anchor is. Your anchor may even change from meditation to meditation, from practice to practice. You may notice that your anchor may change even within your 5 or 10 minute practice. And in this first practice that we're going to do together, it's really going to be about finding your anchor. All right. Now, what can it be? Your anchor can be the sensation of your breath in your body. It could be a sound that you hear. You can be playing music in the background and you're paying attention to that sound. It could be you walking, that you pay attention to the sensation of your feet making contact with the ground underneath you. It can be eating. It could be the sensation of eating something, putting something in your mouth. There's a very famous mindfulness practice of eating a raisin and taking 5 or 10 minutes to eat one raisin. And you notice all the sensations, the urges, the thoughts, everything about eating one raisin, how the raisin changes over time. The urge to want to swallow or chew and get it out of your mouth or taste the flavor, whatever it might be. Okay. It could be watching and looking at a burning candle flicker. It could be looking at a flower in front of you, a picture of a guru, a saint, your mother, father, son, your pet, a tree. Does not matter. Okay. It could be an emotion. It could be an emotion of love that you generate. Maybe it can be a felt sense in your heart, an openness in your heart that you feel like you can come back to over and over again. It could be the sensation of gratitude, or even words or phrases of gratitude. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to be alive. Okay. It could be the practice of loving kindness or metta meditation, where you're intending words and thoughts of loving kindness to yourself or others, such as, may I be happy, may I be well, may I be free from suffering, or may you be happy, may you be well. It might be the repetition of a word or phrase, what we call a mantra or a prayer that's authentic to you. My mantra is love and health, love and health, love and health. Okay. It can be the sensations of your hands making contact, let's say, with your thighs, or if your hands are resting on each other, the contact, the sensation of what it feels like for your hands to be touching, or any part of your body that is contacting the support surface it's on. For instance, if you have feet and they're on the ground, to have your feet on the ground and feeling the sensation of your feet, or the thighs on the back of your chair, or if you're lying down or sitting and have back support, the sensation of the contact of your back with the support that it's on. Or if you have a headrest, what it feels like as a sensation for your head to be making contact with that surface. So like I said, it does not matter what the anchor is, just that you choose and find one that is authentic for you, that works for you. The first time you do this, you might actually be kind of jumping around from anchor to anchor, and that's perfectly fine. The practice initially is to pay attention to that anchor. So literally choosing to direct your attention. Let's say I use the breath. So I use the sensation of the breath and I pay attention to that. As my mind wanders, which is exactly what the mind is meant to do, we redirect it back to the sensation of the breath or your anchor. As soon as you notice that your mind has wandered, you just gently, kindly, with self-compassion and love, non-judgmental, guide it back to your anchor. So it's not like you're thinking about, oh, what do I pay attention to now? You're choosing, right? That's the on purpose part. And you're choosing to pay attention to, let's say, the sensation of your breath, because the sensation of your breath is the present moment. That takes care of that part of mindfulness practice. Okay. The moment that you notice, oh, my mind has wandered, that's what I call a beautiful moment of mindfulness, where we redirect and re-guide the mind back to what we've chosen to focus on as our anchor, which for this will be whatever you chose. As soon as you recognize that your mind has wandered and you redirect it, you're literally firing a new neuron in your brain to come back to the present moment, to start training your brain to be in the present moment. And this is not something that happens overnight. This takes time to develop. This is the part of the cultivation practice. As soon as you do, you recognize, oh, my mind has wandered. With gentleness, kindness, and curiosity, you come back to your anchor. Your mind's going to wander. I guarantee it. Your mind's going to wander. You come back. You come back. You always come back to the present moment, what you chose to focus on in that moment, right? So we've covered the definition of mindfulness, paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment, paying attention to the present moment experience with openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is. We've covered the differences between formal and informal practice, and I highly recommend having at least 5 minutes of formal practice, as well as starting to incorporate informal practice throughout your day. And the concept of an anchor and how to use the anchor in mindfulness practice, especially at the beginning, to start working on that focus and concentration that Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, what happens during the practice. All right. So with that, what I'd like to do is go into our first basic practice, which essentially is going to be opening up to this world of mindfulness, to your present moment experience, and just seeing, can you notice your present moment experience? Choosing an anchor, focusing, choosing to direct our focus, our attention to that anchor, and just being aware of what happens, how often our mind wanders, maybe how difficult it is to keep our mind focused, anything like that. And with gentleness, kindness, love, self-compassion, simply bringing it back, bringing your attention back to your focus, to your anchor. Okay, so let's begin our practice today. Let's find a comfortable position. where you feel as if you will be alert yet awake. For this practice, you can be sitting down, lying down. You could even be standing or walking. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze, as if you're looking off onto the horizon, over an ocean. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. And with each in-breath, inviting in the present moment. And with each out-breath, releasing any tension or holding that you are feeling in your body. And with each in-breath, allowing yourself to be here now. There's no place you need to go. There's no text message you need to check, email you need to check, phone you need to answer for these next 10 to 15 minutes. And allowing yourself to be fully supported by the surface you're on. Maybe noticing your body getting heavier on the surface that you're being supported by. And in this moment, opening to your present moment experience. What is happening for you right now? What is happening inside your body? Can you simply notice it? Be curious about it. With that openness and curiosity, can you allow it to be just as it is? This is the present moment that is arising for you right now. Can you be with it? And just notice how that feels. And for this practice, as we begin our mindfulness journey, practicing with directing our attention to an anchor, to something that we can direct our attention to, that we feel safe, that can help us cultivate concentration. The anchor can be anything that is authentic to you, that helps you come back to the present moment, that helps you focus and concentrate the wandering mind. It can be your breath, counting your breaths, softly whispering to yourself each inhale and exhale. In, out. It could be the sensation of your breath in your body. It could be a sound you're hearing, a mantra or prayer, the repetition of words that are authentic to you, that help you focus and concentrate. It could be the sensation of your feet, or hands, or thighs, on whatever surface they are being supported by. Really noticing the contact points between your body and the surface supported. It does not matter what the anchor is. Simply having an anchor that as your mind wanders, you can redirect your attention to over and over again. That for this practice, you're choosing to pay attention to your anchor. And as your mind wanders, as soon as you notice your mind has wandered, that for this practice, we're not going to follow the thoughts or feelings or sensations. With loving kindness and compassion, simply redirecting our attention back to our anchor. And noticing where your mind is now. Has it wandered into planning or ruminating? If so, that's perfectly fine. That's exactly what the mind does. Gently nudging it back to pay attention to your anchor. Being kind to yourself with compassion that there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad. And just noticing what your present moment experience is. As you're directing your attention to your anchor, as your mind wanders, and you kindly bring it back to your anchor. That's a beautiful moment of mindfulness. And as we bring this practice to a close for today, noticing how you feel, and just seeing how you may integrate mindfulness into your daily life by paying attention on purpose without judgment. And now taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. Opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Reorienting yourself to your room and your surroundings. And just noticing how you feel.